What's up, it's Ivaldi Sako, welcome to the show. Today, we'll talk about how to transform your setbacks, failures, and problems into things that make you proud of yourself, make you confident. Transform those things that you're maybe ashamed of into confidence, into fuel. We'll also talk about how to discover new potential solutions to any kind of problems, really. Solutions that sometimes nobody thinks about and that you might have not thought about before. We'll also talk about how to make the right decisions almost every time with the system that I created for myself, that I also got some part of the book Principles from Ray Dalio. And so I think it's going to be a really pretty useful one. And if you don't know me yet, my name is Ivaldi Sako. I went from not wanting to live anymore to going in business with a guy making $300,000 a month, and then going into business myself. All that thanks to online content, because it completely changed my life. It made me discover new things that I could change, and I could become better, actually have a better life, become truly free and successful. Make my life better because I was in a really hard spot. And so hopefully this is what I can do with this type of content, with this podcast. I want to help you also become truly free and successful, have a better life, even if you're not an entrepreneur, even if you don't have a business. And if you have one, help you get to the next level. So if that appeals to you, consider subscribing. Actually hit the subscribe button right now, because this way you will not forget and you will not miss the next episodes. And also, if you got some value out of this podcast, please share the show. That's the only thing I ask. I'm not making this to make money. I'm doing this to just actually share the journey and help as many people as possible along the way. So you would help tremendously if you would share the show with a friend or your followers, anything. Thank you. If you got some value out of this, all right? Okay. Now let's get into it. So, where do I begin? So what did I do this week? This week I went and did some administrative work, paperwork, and to have a passport to travel this year, because hopefully I will travel more this year. And I went to do this. This is not pleasant, but I met an old, not friend, an old guy to whom I used to say hi in middle school. So I didn't know really this guy, but I knew his face, right? And he knew mine. I don't know his name. He doesn't know mine. But we did some small talk, right? And it was very, very interesting. I never had this great of an interaction with someone. That I can't remember any better conversation that I had with anybody. And this was weird. I didn't know the guy. We had certainly some points in common because we were in the same, we were in middle school together, but that's the only thing. I don't think I saw him since then. So it was a long time ago. And yet, it was a very interesting conversation, and I loved this conversation, and I remember this from this week. This was one of the best moments in my week. And the reason is because he was actually interested. And I was also interested. And so this was just a conversation between two people that were actually interested in each other's. I was actually curious. What was he up to? And he told me, "What are you doing right now?" And this is all we talked about. Okay, what are you doing now? And from this, it just went on to be a great conversation. I loved it. He was really genuinely listening, not just hearing things and preparing his answer in his mind. He was genuinely actually listening. And I was too. And this creates a great conversation. And guess what? This guy, what does he do? He's a sales guy. Because salespeople have developed this to make sales, to just be good at the job. They just need to develop this curiosity. When you are curious, when you actually want to know things about this other person, it makes you ask them questions and really listen. And when people feel listened, they feel they're interesting, they're important. And he made me feel this way, and I made him feel this way back. And so I was genuinely curious about what he did and how did he get into it. And so it went on to be like a 10-minute conversation, like very, very great. Like you might seem like, okay, well, what's the big deal? To me, it's a big deal. Like I don't have these great conversations often. Like most people, oftentimes, are just, first of all, they're not very interesting because they just are, this kind of person like negative, and they're just always like, in a bad mood, and no, he doesn't care about you. He's not smiling when you talk to him. Like, there are a lot of people like this, at least where I live. And this person was smiling. He was happy to meet me, right? He was happy to talk to me. And maybe this was like me too. I had something to do with it. Like I was genuinely interested as well. And so you see, when people are interested in each other, like it creates like good things. Now I'm actually looking forward to have conversations. I'm actually looking forward to meet new people and discover them. I'm actually like, I like that. And if you know me, I'm an introvert at first. Like I'm not someone that is very outgoing and just likes to meet new people. No, absolutely not. This is not me, naturally. But I become more extroverted. I become more, outgoing just by trying, by thinking that I can. Which, by the way, thinking that I can, I've filmed a great 3-series podcast mindset training, so that you can actually control your mind and brainwash yourself to success and get to the life that you want. Like in any kind of, even if you're not already successful, you can get to the next level. If you're already making $1 million a month, you can get to the next level by just taking this and applying it to your situations. So I really think it will be very useful for you to watch this one. Maybe after this one, because this one as well will be pretty useful, I think. And so yeah, this was the highlight of my week. Like this conversation. Like go and ask people questions, be genuinely interested, be curious. And people will make you feel this way as well. What you give to people, how you make them feel, they will make you feel back the same thing, oftentimes. It's just like, this was a case. Like he engaged the conversation with me. I was like, hey, it's been a while, right? And that's it. I just didn't say much. I was like pretty calm. I'm not someone that just likes to talk too much. And then he asked me a question, hey, what are you doing now? And then I asked him back, and I reciprocated his energy. Actually, I had a pretty great energy as well when I said hi to him. But when he asked me this like genuinely interestedly question, like he questioned me with genuine interest in him. He really wanted to know the answer. He really wanted to listen with no end in mind. I just reciprocated this back, and it was a great conversation. I loved it. I really loved it. And now I'm looking forward to have better conversations just because of this guy. Just see how one guy can have an impact on your life. Like he motivated me to just do more like talking to people. Just pretty cool to me. Anyway, I did this, and then let's get into the things the core of the detail that you want to know. So this one is how to transform your setbacks and failures and the things that you feel ashamed of into fuel, into confidence, and just reframing the things that you think about. So I hope you can hear me well. I have no idea when I film those how well the sound is. I'm just shooting like a pure amateur, which I am, onto podcasts at least. So this week I started going back to the gym to train my upper body, because if you don't know, I've injured my hands working too much on the computer, so I had to take a lot of time off of training the upper body. And now I decided like it was time to get back, because I found some new information that told me that maybe I should get back on, and maybe I should train again with very lightweight, like very slowly and just carefully, like almost like re-education, like educating my muscle again to, be able to use them as I could previously. And I've been working out at the gym, at the same gym actually, for like 7 years. Maybe 8. Almost 8, I think. And I ended up lifting pretty heavy weights and being at the gym, like, making a lot of noise and stuff of this nature, right? I was pretty proud of lifting heavy weights, and I was doing this the right way, of course. I used to be a personal trainer, so But this week I had to train my upper body with like as little weight as possible. So I was on the machines, not even like free weight. I couldn't use free weight. Like, this was not a part of my program. I created my program so that I actually heal myself as fast as possible, and I don't risk to injure myself again. And so I was doing this, and I knew my ego was going to suffer from just putting this little weight. Like, I'm used to lift heavy weight, and when I go to the gym, it's to just give a lot of energy. It's not just to go there casually. It's just actually push, actually let out all of my anger, all of my emotions. I let this out in the gym, and then I go into life, and I'm just like relaxed, happy, carefree. I feel good. But this time is I need to lift slowly and give almost no energy, because if I do, I'll hurt more of my hands. So I had to put my ego aside, and I knew that I was going to feel ashamed. I knew that I was going to feel bad about this. And so I reframed in my mind what it meant that I lift, lightweight. In your life right now, you might be telling yourself a story. You might be assigning meaning to things that don't necessarily mean that. You can choose the meaning of your experiences, of what's happening to you, or what you've done in the past. Anything. You can choose the meaning. Let's say, for example, right now, let's say a guy just starts a business, and he was making 50 grand a year, right? So, pretty casual. But right now, he barely makes 10 a year, because he just started his business. He just started it. Like, it's pretty normal that he just doesn't make that much money, right? And yet he feels himself like as a failure. He feels himself like, what he tells himself is like, I'm making 10K a month, 10K a year. All of my friends are making 50K a year. I'm like 40 grand less valuable than they are. He could say himself that. He could say, okay, I'm doing so much worse in life. I'm making no money. I thought I was going to be making 50 grand a month, like right away, and it's not happening. And he tells himself this story. That might be the truth. He's making more. He's making less than all of his friends are. It might be the truth. But is it the truth that serves him? Maybe not. What if he thought about it in this way? All of my friends are staying in their safe zones. They're making 50K a year, and that's all they're gonna make for the rest of their lives. I'm taking a risk right now. I'm being the courageous person right now. I'm taking the risk, and I'm making progress. I'm failing, and I'm learning, and I'm going through the things to become able to become better. What if you thought about it this way? Now, the meaning of his situation changed. It's still the truth. Both scenarios in your head, the stories that you play in your mind to give meaning to your experiences, are both the same. And yet one serves you, one doesn't. To me, it didn't serve me to tell myself, I'm lifting light weights, and so that this means that I'm weak. That means I'm weaker than my friends that lift heavy weight. That means that I'm less valuable. That means I should be less confident because I'm weaker. Instead, I was like, you know what? I'm very proud of myself for doing this program and making progress toward my healing, from taking responsibility for my mistakes, of working too much, of not stretching enough, and I'm proud of myself of making this thing happen. I'm proud of myself of letting my ego aside and actually lifting the lower weight in the entire gym, even lower than 16-year-old girls that just got into the gym and don't know what they're doing. Even them, they lift more than me, and yet I'm still proud of it. I was lifting those weights, those very lightweight, proudly, confidently. Like I was really feeling good about myself because the story that I told myself about the situation changed. I was telling myself a great story. The meaning of the situation changed in my mind. And so it was actually the case in reality, because what you think about is, your perception of reality is actually reality. Like it's just like, it's your reality because this is how you view life. And so you perceive this situation as you think about it. It's the same thing. So if you thought about it in a way that's negative, you're going to feel like it's a negative situation. But if you feel like it's a positive experience, well, it's a positive experience because the meaning has changed. And so I would encourage you to ask yourself this question: what story are you telling yourself about your life that might not be serving you? What meaning are you associating with some of the experiences that you are right now currently in, or maybe in the past? Oftentimes, it's very useful to ask yourself what's happening in the past. What have you done in the past that was wrong, or maybe you made a mistake and you're not forgiving yourself for making this mistake. Instead, shift the story that you tell yourself. Shift it into a positive one. Shift it into something that's useful for you and that you are proud of. You can make this into something that you're proud of, into fuel. Like, okay, I feel good about this. Instead of, I'm completely ashamed of this. Be proud. Be proud of your insecurities. Okay, I'm proud of myself for not letting this affect me. See the good, positive view of this. This is actually thinking positively. You give and assign meaning the way you want to. You can control this because we're creatures, the human need meaning. We automatically, okay, if one person does something, we all automatically think, what does this mean? Unconsciously. What if this didn't mean anything at all? First of all, you can just erase any meaning of this. He just insulted me for nothing. That doesn't mean anything. Maybe that means about something about him, right? You can choose the meaning. If you can choose, that means that I'm not a good person, and so you react in an emotional way, okay? That's how it increases. That's not how it increases. It's just you can choose what it means. Just in your mind. And so if you choose the meaning that serves you, you will have a better life. You will feel more confident. And you'll feel better about yourself and not let the poor meaning, automatic meaning that you immediately assign to the situation hold you back. For example, for me, I would have, I think a few years back, I would have not done this workout. I would have not created this program because I knew I would feel ashamed of lifting light weight, to be honest with you, fully honest. You might think it's not a big deal because maybe you don't go to the gym. To me, it was something that I was proud of. I've built myself, I've built my strength, I've built my body, and now I've completely lost it. At least in the upper body, I completely I'm weak. I'm still pretty stronger than most people. I could lift those weights, but I know it will damage my body more than anything else. So I can't do this. And I'm able to accept it because the meaning of what I assigned to it, to the situation, has changed. What is a situation in your life that you could change the meaning of it? It will help you tremendously. I really believe that, and if you do change the meaning of things that maybe holding you back right now, it will erase a weight on your shoulders, and you'll be able to go further in your journey. I really hope you do this work. It's going to be very useful. And if it does, please tell me. Send me a message, send me anything. I want to know. I'm genuinely curious. I'm genuinely interested. Like, actually. Alright, so then this week I also have started taking more vitamin C and vitamin D. Why am I saying this? It's because I found a potential solution to my problems, which are health problems, and for which, like, my problem is that I have inflammation. Basically, I'm going to simplify this as I have inflammation, bad inflammation that creates all sorts of problems. Autoimmune disease, tendinitis, it's like almost tennis elbow, right, on my hands, and psoriasis, like allergies, anything. So this is why I'm focused on my health. This kind of period. Not very happy about it, but anyway. I wanted to heal for a long time and I couldn't. I found solutions that a lot of experts were talking about. My doctors told me, I tried them, they didn't work. And so I tried to find something else, something that not a lot of people talked about. I was like, I'm going to do something that people don't, I'm not saying to do, right? Because I was going from the hypothesis that the majority, when a lot of people believe something, it has a lot of potential to be wrong. Because sometimes it's just like can come from one person that thinks something, and then some other guy believes it, and guess what? Next thing you know, like because of the bias of if a lot of people think this way, it should be true, right? So if a lot of people have left 5-star reviews on this, it should be good, right? So this is bias. This is not necessarily true. And so when I questioned the authority, I questioned what everybody thought the solution to my problems could be, I was like, what if I need more vitamin D? What if I need more vitamin C? And I had already did that. I had already done that, but I didn't do it to the extent at which I'm doing it right now. So I went and watched. First of all, I typed new. I did new research on the internet with new keywords, and I was like, okay, I'm going to attack my problems from another angle. I'm going to try to see, okay, what if there's some underlying thing that has to do with my problem, but I'm not aware of, right? So I was trying to type new things and get, a lot of data. And I found a doctor, that talked about how if your tendons are weak and you feel like you're struggling to heal your tendons, you need to take a lot more vitamin C. So the usual vitamin C recommendation by the World something, right? The World Health Organization or something like this, right? Experts tell you that for a grown man, you need 90 milligrams of vitamin C per day. I was like, this is kind of okay. I didn't have any reference points, so, didn't think too much of it. I knew I was like, somehow deficient. So I was taking 135 milligrams. And then I see this guy, and they say that if you take 120 milligrams per day for a grown man, it can get it can be dangerous. So I was like, okay, I'm already taking 135 milligrams. I think, I don't think it's dangerous. I don't believe them that much, right? And then I see this guy on YouTube. This is a doctor on YouTube, says that if you feel like you have weak points and you're deficient in vitamin C, you should take 1 to 2 grams per day of vitamin C. So this completely shifted my perspective. It broke a belief in my mind. I was like, okay, 120, maybe 150 and 70 milligrams per day must be a little dangerous, right? If the people say it's 120. I'm guessing like, I have some little margin. Especially for me, I'm young and everything, right? And this guy told me that look, he was speaking in his YouTube videos. It was saying 1,000 to 2,000 milligram per day of vitamin C. And I was like, okay. So I tripled my vitamin C consumption every day. And I think it's working. So it's like completely like questioning the status quo. Like people tell you something. If people tell you something, question it. Even if it's authority, even if everybody thinks about this in this way, what if they were wrong? What if everybody's wrong? What if everybody's wrong about your situation? What if with your body you can handle a lot more? You don't know until you try it. You got to be willing to take the risk. And so I was, because honestly, my situation is like very, like I can't stay this way anymore. Like I got a lot more work to do. I have to heal. I have to heal it fast. So I'm paying a lot of money for supplements. I'm taking the best collagen ever. Like I'm talking like a whole bunch of supplements. And they were not working. And I think they're working a little bit more right now because of the vitamin C. Extensive more vitamin C. I'm taking right now 380 milligrams instead of 90 milligrams recommended, right? And so I'm increasing a little bit, small bit by bit to not, go completely like, maybe I'm going to hurt myself. So I don't want to get sick and, create worse consequences. I also did that, and I'm going to talk about consequences later on. It's very important. I also took the advice at the beginning of my doctor, which said, okay, I'm going to give you 50,000 IUI of vitamin D, right? So this is vitamin D. It's like for instead of the sun, we don't get enough sun exposures, so you need vitamin D. And the darker the color of your skin, the more vitamin D you need, the more deficient you're likely to be, because the pigments don't let enough vitamin D enter from the sun, and you don't get nowhere near enough with food. So I was like, okay, people say that you need 500 to 1,000 UI per day of vitamin D. And then I see this guy, Dr. Berg, I think. This doctor. And he challenges the status quo. Everybody says that, and he says, take 10,000 UI per day. And a lot of doctors say it's very dangerous to do this. You can't do this. No. Doctors. And they are completely wrong, completely mistaken. I'm taking right now 12 UI per day of vitamin D. I think it's getting better. I think I'm finally seeing some effect, right? And I'm also getting about 10 to 30 minutes of sun exposure shirtless. So, very good sun exposure. So I'm getting a lot of vitamin D. A lot. And I'm not feeling sick at all, because I also saw the potential negative consequences. I was like, okay, what's the danger by taking too much vitamin D? All these true. How can you mitigate that? And I saw, okay, it can create calcification, because the calcium is going to, go more in the blood and everything. And so how to mitigate that? Well, you just take vitamin K. So I took both. I was like, okay, what's the ratio? I took both. 10 to 12 UI of vitamin D, 10 to 12,000 UI vitamin D per day. Hey, there you go. That's already better. I'm just starting up. I feel like it's going to be going in the right direction right now, finally. So yeah, question. Tell yourself, okay, what is everybody thinking right now on this subject? What is the popular opinion? And question it. Tell yourself, okay, what if they're wrong? What if they're all following one guy and this one guy was wrong? It's totally possible. Doctors are wrong. All of my doctors are close to dumb. Very close to dumb. Because they're not just doing the work. They don't care. They don't have this genuine passion to help people. They just want to make money and have a happy, easy life. That's all they care about. They don't care about helping me. So I questioned their authority. And if I were to say that, I actually said that to my doctor. I actually didn't say that, but I told him, okay, so I tried this and I'm taking right now collagen. And he was like, collagen. Nobody's proven that this works. Totally wrong. He just doesn't see any work. Maybe in the French market, nobody proved it. But like, you're supposed to be a doctor. See the like total results in the world. People have proven like taking collagen is actually like fasten your healing of tendons. And it's just logical. Actually, I'm saying this, but I'm not totally sure if it was this or something else. But he told me something that was completely wrong on that. And I was like, I have like literal proof that this is wrong. Now, I didn't say this to him because he was like going to not feel good about himself, and he was going to say like, oh, you know, this is completely wrong and everything. And he was like, oh, what is this patient? Anyway, so question, and you will find new answer. Like, okay, what everybody is believing, maybe they're wrong. What if I go the opposite direction of the crowd? This will serve you a lot. And so when I talk to you about consequences, I've tried to make a decision this week about going on a trip. So I think I talked about it a little bit in the last podcast. And so this time I've renewed the decision-making process, the system. And I actually didn't know that I was doing like a big mistake. I was doing a big mistake when making decisions. And this mistake was I was not gathering accurate information before making the decision. And I was viewing all the decision-making process as one, when in fact there's two parts of making a decision. One part, you gather information and you gather facts. The second part is that you actually make the decision based on those information that are supposed to be facts, not your imagination, not your thoughts about something, not your subjective reality in your mind, which I was doing this. I still kind of am doing this. I didn't realize that. I think the reality is in a way, and is in a certain way, which sometimes it's not. I'm just thinking in my mind. I'm just imagining. It's in my imagination. That's it. It's not. I have no proof whatsoever. So I need to go and gather information. Go and talk to experts. Go and talk and, mix the data of, people that are trustworthy. And what does trustworthy mean? That means that this guy has done what you want to do, or this guy is more likely to be right about this than you are, because he has either more experience, has produced more results, have been in the field for many more years. So for example, if you have one doctor saying this, and you have one other doctor that is a specialist, and your exact problem, who are you going to believe more? The specialist on your problem has more, you can trust it more. You can trust his opinion and his facts more than the other one, right? So what are the facts? Gather the facts subjectively without, this is crucial. Gather the facts without thinking of the decision that you feel most comfortable doing. Because if you feel more comfortable doing this certain decision, even before gathering information, you're going to start trying to find the right information that confirms the decision that you want to make. Because it's the most comfortable decision. Don't do this mistake. I'm doing it a lot. I've been doing it a lot. When you gather information, just think about this. Don't think about the decision at all. It's just like focus only and fully on, okay, what's true? What information do I have? Factually. Like, you don't care, because if you get all the information, you'll be able to make a great decision that will serve you more, and that maybe you'll be more comfortable actually doing, but you're just not aware of. Be obsessed by finding the truth, not finding the truth that you're more comfortable with. Because if you do, you'll make a decision based on your imagination and what you're comfortable doing. And if you are doing this, you're making the wrong decisions, and you will not, progress or find the result that you want to find. So first part, gather facts. Second part, make the decision. And when you make the decision, here's the process that I go through. So first I state the decision. Okay. So to me, it was like, do I go on this trip or not? Okay. I'm making the decision of going on this trip. If I make the decision of going on this trip, what's going to happen? And then I state the decision. Second is list all the consequences of this decision. What are all the possible consequences of making the decision? Whether it's positive, negative, write out everything. Write everything out on a piece of paper if possible, or on your notes. Write it down. Externalize this. Don't just make this in your mind. You'll mess it up. At least I do all the time. And so you list, first of all, the first immediate consequences. So if I go on this trip, what will happen for sure? This is facts. This is first immediate, first order consequences. So I'm going to pay money to go on there. I'm going to spend 2 weeks there because this is this is what facts. This is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to be able to work on my business. We'll say this. Then I lose momentum as well. So this is immediate consequence. If I stop, I lose the momentum that I built, right? Then I list the second order consequences of those immediate consequences. So there's first order, then second order, then third order. And a lot of times we just take the immediate first consequences in account because it's we want to make decisions based on immediate gratification. It's easier. We think about it it's immediate. This is the consequence. Immediate consequence of doing this action is that. So cool. I'm gonna have fun. Cool. Right? This is one consequence. If I go on this trip, I'm going to have fun. If I go on this trip, I'm going to build deeper relationships, right? Those are direct, immediate consequences. Now, what are the consequences of those consequences? So, I go on this trip for 2 weeks. That means I can't work on my business anymore. And that means if I can't work on my business anymore, that means I'm not going to grow the business. If I'm not going to grow the business, so this is a third order, I'm going to lose on potential clients. I'm going to lose potential market share. I'm going to lose current clients because I'm not taking care of them well enough, right? I'm going to lose the trust of my team if I'm not prepared, right? And so you list all the consequences. First immediate consequence, then second order, then third order. Because you'll notice this at some point, and of course you want to do this with the consequences that you think have the most importance. There are maybe a lot of consequences you can think of that don't have a lot of importance. If they're not that important, they're not going to have a great effect on your decision. So you might as well not taking them into account. And also if they have a very low probability of happening, you still want to take them into account, but keep in mind the probabilities of those consequences happening. Because sometimes you can have really the worst case scenario in your mind, and it's kind of exaggerated. I often do this. And so keep in mind the probabilities of those things happening. Then you have all those consequences. Whoa, the time is going pretty fast. Okay, I'm going to have to fasten up. So we have all the consequences, all of them that are the most, useful, important, that are going to, have an impact on the decisions you want to make. You have all of them, consequences, positive, negatives. Now you put each in each category. So all the consequences, all first, second, third order, all of the consequences that are positive, you put them in the positive column, right? And all of the negative ones in the negative column. So, okay, you have each on both sides, positive, negatives. Now you're going to rate each consequences from 1 to 10, right? Out of 10, this consequence is a 7. So it's a positive one. So that means I really want this consequence to happen. I really want to have fun. I really like, it's very important to me, right? And so oftentimes you should optimize for your principles and values and your goals. So you have in mind that you want to live your life in a certain way. So according to this, you're going to rate your consequences. You know, if you're optimizing fully for business, you know, having fun should not be like very high if you're fully optimizing for business. But maybe you're not. You're optimizing for a great life, for having fun as well in your life. So you can have, you know, a 7 out of 10 rating for having fun. If you have a negative consequence that is, you know, not that, it doesn't bother you too much to, you know, have some team member leave, it's not a big deal for you. You put this at 4 out of 10, for example. You shouldn't have 1 out of 10 because you shouldn't like think too much about those consequences. You should have not wrote them down. So now you have all the ratings and you can addition them. You can make an addition. So you add all of those consequences, the rating. You go, okay, you have 2 7s and you know, a lot of more 8s and 2s. Let's say at the end, positive score is 50 and the negative score is 75. So now you can see, like, it's pretty obvious for you, it's not worth it to make the decision. Like, to actually go on this trip, it's not worth it because it's like there's 75 points of negative and 50 points of positive. Now, you can ask yourself, how? Like, if it's worth it, like if you really want the benefits, like the 50 the 50 points that are positive, you really want them. And so if you really want them, you can ask yourself, how could I reduce the negative points? And so if you ask yourself, okay, how can I reduce those negative points? You make a to-do list. A to-do list of all the things you can do to reduce each one. And so now you can you can create a list of things that you will do that will reduce your 75 negative score on making the decision on, you know, turn it into a 30. And so if you turn it into a 30, of course, you need to rate back. You know, once you find the solutions, you erase, you know, the negative consequences. And so then you make an addition again of all the score. You make the score and you find out, okay, now I have 30 negative points and I have 50 positive points. Now it makes more sense to get on there, to actually make that happen. But sometimes the negative points, the 30 negative points are, you know, even more important. And you need to see, okay, if the negative points are not, you don't want them to happen at all, you can try to still reduce them even more. Take your chance if it's really worth it for you, or just not make the decision, because but it shouldn't happen. If your score is very much higher, that means that if you have a lower score on the negative points and the highest score on the positive points, that means that you didn't rate accurately really the consequences. So if you have, you know, the consequences that have a lot more points on the positive side, I think it's a good bet to make the decision, actually go on this trip. Now, you could also go the other way around and ask yourself, how could I enhance the positive sides of making the decision? How can I enhance the positive consequences? When you do, you're increasing the worthiness of taking the risk of having those negative consequences. And so it's always a ratio. You always need to ask yourself, is it worth it for you or not? Even in sales, it's always okay, am I willing to risk that to get this? When someone goes and decides to start a business, this is why it's very important to dream big. Because when you dream big, you make all the sacrifices, all the negative consequences, all the potential negative consequences of starting a business very low compared to the upside of making a business happen. If you think going in business will make you 10K a month at max. And you have this many negative points, these many negative consequences of going into it. You're not going to make this decision. It's not going to be worth it. It's not going to seem worth it for you. But if you think you can make $100,000 a month, now those negative consequences, you might be willing to take the bet, all right? And so you can reduce either the risk of the negative things happening as much as possible, which is the best way to do it. Because if you have nothing to lose, well, you're going to take the decision like, so, whatever, I have nothing to lose. I'll take that. If it's free, well, I'll take that, right? But if you have a lot to lose, then you might think more about the decision. And if you have a lot to lose and you can't reduce it down, increase the dream. Make it worth it. Make yourself imagine being able to have a big time reward, because this time you're going to take the bet. And if you're going to take the bet and you're going to bet the farm because you have these many negative consequences, you're going to find a way to make it happen. And so in business, this translates in a weird way. So I think in the service business, it might not be profitable to reduce the risk as much as possible. So if there's absolutely no risk to go in business with you and to buy your service, you're going to attract anybody, and those anybody, any clients, might make you waste your time. Might make you take resources from you that you could spend with someone else that will have risked more working with you. And so he will have better results and he will help you make your business better, right? He will not be such a weight on your business. Like there are some clients that will waste your time. There are some clients that will, ask the world from you because they have not risked anything themselves. They're not accountable. So I don't think it applies the same way when you sell products, but in a service-based business, I think it's a good thing to keep a little bit of risk and negative potential consequences on the other part so that they are accountable, so that you increase the reward more than you reduce too much the risk. Because if you reduce too much the risk, you will attract anybody. You will take anybody into your field. Or maybe you can find a way to attract better clients without making it risk-free, without having to increase the risk. So you could still have, no risk to going in business with you and attract good clients because you have another process into it. So it's a balance to have, I think. But usually I think the less risk you reduce the risk, so much that you will go, a lot more clients will buy from you because there's no risk. And when there's no risk, you can even have a little upside that it's worth it for them to try, right? So yeah, this is very interesting to think about. And once you do put all those things in perspective, you are able to make decisions very more confidently, because you know everything that could happen. Most things that could happen, you're aware of. And so you go in and make the decision in confidence. And so because you go in confidence and make the decision decisively and firmly, you can then go and take action on it. And take massive action on it. And if you take massive action on it, you're going to get better results. And if you do, I'm happy for you. If you like this video, this podcast, please subscribe. Hit the button right now to not miss the next episodes. It will be even better. If you haven't checked the Mindset Training podcast, the 3-part series, it will blow your mind if you actually apply it. And if you like this content, please share the show. I'll let you do with this. Goodbye. I'll see you in the other podcasts.